Onward we march with all our might. Khuddam-ul-Ahmadiyya. Onward we march with one.
We will take the question on the agreement part where we come to Ijtema'a. So before coming, they had agreed that they were going to share the bills, do everything 50-50. Now we see that they are not in good terms. So when they come to Ijtema'a, what will be their case?
Yeah, Jazakumullah. It is a very simple thing to do. What you have to know in Islam is that marriage is worship. Once you know it's worship, everything you do inside the marriage is to get the pleasure of Allah the Almighty. So whether agreed or not agreed, you must fulfill your part of your promise. Because breaking promises in Islam is punishable. The Quran warns us that let not your enmity incite you to act otherwise than with justice. Be always just. Even if it's against your what? Enemy. The Quran has warned us about this. So your wife even is not your what? Enemy. It is just disagreement. What you have agreed, you must deliver. So if you see it as an act of worship to marry, then there is nothing to worry about. Many of us falter in this in our marriages. A small quarrel with your wife, you refuse to provide food in the house. You refuse to leave the usually chop money that you leave because you want to punish her. God and the Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not teach us these things. They only said that if we are displeased with them and want to pull their ears, it has nothing to do with their social responsibility. It has nothing to do with their moral responsibility. What you only have to do is to separate bed to show your anger. Why this? At the time you think that you are punishing her, the man is also being punished. Because no married man is happy to sleep alone. Yes. Yeah, it will take time. That is something we must all focus on.
Yeah. So.
If you marry for your own pleasure, you will comb this world from head to toe, trying to please the marriage till you die, and still find no pleasure in marriage. But if you go into marriage as an act of worship to please God and to get the love of God from it, then you will keep enjoying the fruits of marriage without putting any labor in it. Because God works miracles for you every day in the marriage. For example, in my language, we do not call a married woman anything, but we say pogo. And that means someone who covers the man's fault. That is the meaning. She comes to cover your faults. And the man, we call him stra. Someone who fixes spaces that comes in the building. So if these two people see themselves as these tools, definitely the marriage, whether you have divided anything in the marriage or not, you will enjoy it even at the time of disagreements.
Jazakumullah. So when agreement is made, you have to fulfill your side of it. Yes, obviously you can go on with that, but you also add this aspect of certain standards in our Jamaat. For as our brother rightly mentioned, that for instance in our Shura's Majlis, we put ahead this suggestion offer that if you are not if the girl and the boy are to come into marriage, they should first be able to recite the Holy Quran. We make it as part of, let's say, the laws that we have in our land here in Ghana, if that proposal could be made. So you can go on with that answer from what you want to add for the first question and then go on with the second one.
All right, thank you very much. From the first one where former Sadr Sahib asked if that issue comes to the Ijtema'a, what happens? See, always what we should remember are some two verses in the Holy Quran, one which says, مَا آتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. That what the Prophet Muhammad gives to you, take it. And what he tells you to stay away from, shun that. The second verse is, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, O you who believe, استجيبوا لله وللرسول إذا دعاكم لما يحييكم. That if respond to the call of Allah and His Messenger when they call you, so that they would give you life. What I'm trying to deduce from it is that all these establishments and the rules of Islam gives us life. They actually make our lives easier. And so if it comes to the Ijtema'a, yes, you might have made your agreement, but if it doesn't go according to Islam, it would be our responsibility on the Ijtema'a board to still draw your attention towards that which would give you life. So yes, you might have made your agreement, but when it comes there, we would take into consideration your agreement, but we would make you know that sometimes some of these things were not even supposed to happen in the first place. So we'll tell you what Islam actually asks you to do. When it comes to the other part where we could probably make it, he asked if it would be too much to ask us to make it a shura proposal or something like that. I think we can do it even without making it a shura proposal. If we, the men, set the standards for our own selves. Look, some years back, there were just 2 women in Ghana here who were doing this full parda. Now, multiple women, more than that, are doing full parda. How did it come about? It is a standard. If the women get to know that those who cannot read the Holy Quran are not being married by we, the men, we are the ones making the choice. So we can change it. Why do we have to push our women to a point where they do not know anything about religion, but we'll go after them? 3, 4 boys are going after them. If the person cannot recite the Holy Quran, and all Khuddam should have this agreement in their heads that we are not going to marry those women, they will start learning. Number 1. Number 2, you see, in the laws of science, like poles repels, right? Unlike poles would attract. But in Islam, Allah Almighty says, Al-khabithatu lil-khabithin, wal-khabithuna lil-khabithat, al-tayyibatu lil-tayyibin, al-tayyibuna lil-tayyibat. What it means is that the bad ones would attract the bad ones, both males and females. The good ones would attract the good ones. If you have standards, you will look for someone who has standards. I am a missionary. I feel that my work is very busy, so I would not be able to stay home. Why would I go for a woman who cannot teach my children how to recite the Quran? That is my responsibility. Why would I do that? So we, the men, I feel that we're holding all the cards in our hands. If we raise the standards, the women would also follow suit. They don't have any option. They would follow suit.
Jazakumullah, Jazakumullah. What Mosab is telling us is that if we, the men ourselves, are to raise the standard, before you raise that standard, you yourself, ask yourself, what is your standard? Are you able to read the Holy Quran? For you to go and say that I want to marry someone who can read the Holy Quran. So we first have to raise our standards, and then we will be able to set these standards that we are all looking for. Please come forward so that you will ask all your questions at once, then we take the answers and then we bring the program to an end.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum.
I don't know if I can ask a 2-part question, but I will just start with the most important one. Recently, after I've been advocating about Islam in my workplace, somebody confronted me about the economics in marriage. And the confusion I had was as to the difference between a woman's property that she brings into marriage or that she has inherited or that she had before the marriage, and then property or proceeds that she's getting from a business that the husband have set for her. Those proceeds are things that she makes from the toil the labor she goes to do as a result of the business you have set aside for her to do because you didn't want her to sit in the house or you want to improve the life of your family. So your wife is working and you are also working. She makes money at the end of the day or a week and you have your salary. So in this case, can the husband budget the affairs of the family or the expenditure of the family and add the proceeds from the business the woman is running? Or because it's the woman who is generating that revenue, the man is not allowed to interfere in all that comes out from that.
Okay.
And quickly, secondly, in a form of a suggestion, the marriage counseling we do before marriage, the gap I have personally observed is that the parents of the spouses, the husband and the wife, I believe that it will do us a lot of good if they are also included in a counseling about how to either involve themselves or abstain away from the affairs of the newlyweds. Because it seems to be leading to a lot of problems when after a newlywed will settle down and you see the mother of the bride or the family of one of them moving in with them and then causing a lot of problems. So I don't know if there's a way we can incorporate that and it will make sense. Jazakallah.
The next person, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much for this opportunity. My question is, Allah Almighty says that He doesn't burden us beyond our capacity. And now, also in the Quran,
Allah Almighty says
He doesn't burden us beyond our capacity. And then also in the Quran, it says that marriage, Hadith says that marriage is 50% of faith, Iman. Now, we know people, or we've seen people who have gotten married and then their lives have become miserable. Their lives had turned down the hill. Now, the issue is that when you have instances of such, whereby there is this issue in marriage, first of all, how do you solve it? And then also, is it that the principles of marriage is where the issue is coming from, or there is something that is happening that maybe the man or the woman would have to look at in marriage that they can change to ensure that they enjoy or they have a successful marriage? This is a little question I have. Thank you very much.
Jazakumullah. There was this last hand. Please, that will be the last question for the session today.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Okay. Okay, please go on.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Please, my name is Abdul Salam Anderson. Mine is about a disobedient wife. And there's this verse in the Holy Quran, Surah Al-Nur, that says, leave them in their beds and punish them. So I want to know, like you already said, like leaving them in their beds is a punishment for both the husband and the wife, all right? But what about punishing them? What can you talk about, explain about the punishment, what the Holy Quran says?
That there was someone sitting to ask the last question. Okay. Yes, Shimo.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. I do not have the linguistic value, so I would like to know whether I would be permitted to speak in the local dialect.
Sure.
Assembling nane say, said ye ukunu no besho waire no. And I'm a person ma homework bi ne nyina ekwaye no ofie. Si etimi a ebebo e nyina. De me hu ne say ye hodan for no. E me man bebre no e patapa. O musuman na kwaye say nyina enim kwaku menu story no. Ne rene e de to busuafo ani mu say me kunu wɔne me ɛfa afuro na mehu ne biem mewo na sɛ me ho yɛ fɛde a na waba enti yɛfrɛ Kwaku Manu ne yɛde to n'anim asɛm a Kwaku Manu ne kan ne sɛ hwan na wahyɛ go a wagyina hɔ enti homework a mede mɛyɛ nyinaa ne sɛ
Please go on.
Homework a mede mɛyɛ nyinaa ne sɛ Quranic verse bi wɔ hɔ ɛyɛ mede paa yie A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim bismillahir rahmanir rahim ɔse you till hikmata ma yasha'u otumfo Nyankopɔn no nea ɔpɛ no ɔde nyansa ne ma no wa man yutal hikmata faqad utiya khairan kasira na nea ama ne nyansa no yɛama no nimdeɛ so paa yie wa ma yazakaru illa ulil albab na we no onte ase agye sɛ ɔmo wonte ase no enti homework a mede mɛyɛ hodamfo no nyinaa ne sɛ wobɛtumi ayɛ no bɔsome anaasɛ quarterly wofrɛ ɔyere no na wobɛsa ne sɛ ɔbaa ka adeɛ baako paa meyɛ a ɛbɛma awareɛ no ayɛ yie paa ɔbɛka akyerɛ na wabɔ ho mpaeɛ na wayere ho sɛ ɔbɛyɛ quarterly ne sɛ aduru hɔ a na wasa abusa asɛm foforɔ na megyedi sɛ yi na ɛtumi yɛ a ɛbɛboa assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, so we will start with the answers. Before that, the assignment that he has given us is that we should try that, sorry, quarterly, once in every 4 months, 3 months, or maybe once in a month, we call our wives and ask them that, what should I do? Is there anything that I can do to spice up the marriage? You can even add that, is there anything that I do in our marriage that you don't really like? You can add that one too. So these things, we should try to do them so that we'll be able to solve these small problems and then have a happy home. Jazakallah khairan. So we will start the... they are sabotaging me. They want to ask more questions. Let me look this side. So the first question they asked, we will take from Rabbi Saab on the budget. That if your wife is working, and then you are also working, if you are making the monthly budget, the budget for the family, should you consider the income or whatever your wife is also earning, so that you, and even the business that you have set up for her, should you consider all those ones and then make the budget for the family?
Is it?
Is the question right?
What we should know in marriage is this, very simple. At the time of setting up a business for your wife, you must come very clear whether it is a family business or her personal business. If it falls under personal business, if you take 1 cedi from it, it is a loan. You must pay it back. But if it is a family business and you have made her the chief executive of the business, then she will account to you as the head of the one who financed the business. Even in that, the capital you plow into the business, after some time, the capital should be paid off, where you have to share some shares in the business. Some ownership should be there. Because these are the things that haunt the family after any of them passes on. Oh, you are just successful because you marry our brother. It is our brother business. But meanwhile, the man did it out of love for his wife, and it is her personal business. One thing we always do is when you don't follow an injunction from the Holy Quran, you don't only suffer as an individual, you suffer as a community. The Quran have instructed us that any promise and agreement you have with anybody, write it down. Full verse in Surah Al-Baqarah. Nothing is left out. Even to the extent that those of you or those of us who have traveled from south to here, and we get some business or some promises, the Quran says still write it and get witnesses. But we don't do that. We don't do these things. We see them to be anything. There's nothing. Oh, Gafur, Munjai, Sekano Betuya. Then they ask, Gafur is gone. They say, who is owing? You want to bury Gafur. You are standing there, I'm owing, you can't say it because you don't have proof. Have you seen? You have not forgiven me, but my family could have paid it off. But because you refuse to follow an injunction from the Holy Quran, you do me bad and do yourself bad. I'm in my grave struggling to solve that problem. You are alive struggling to find somebody to confide in. So please, once it's family business, you can budget on it. If it's a personal setup you have given to your wife, you have no any business in the finances.
You don't
Even
have
the consultations that you give her, it will be free.
free of charge.
Because, yes,
Free
you can't charge her
consultation.
for consultation.
Yeah, brothers, since
Yes.
you are the one serving for Richard Nata, he made a suggestion that if the parents could be included in the, what do you call it? Counseling process.
Yes. You see, one thing I have observed when I went to Germany Jalsa, which I want to draw our Qaidin's attention to. We have been following you and calling you, asking of figures, real figures, following you to follow your regional Muawin Qaidins, to be interested in this job. This is why Tabligh is failing. This is why Tarbiyat is failing, because Rishta Nata has failed. If Rishta Nata stands properly, all the things that Mal needs to get, it will be very easy. All the things Tarbiyat needs to get will be delivered. And Tabligh, it will soar up, because the problems are from the house and then they shoot out into the society. Rishta Nata, as we sit today, we are supposed to always open an exhibition where people can come who are genuinely interested in getting partners, see the profile of people. But it's very difficult for us, for people to open up. If you say you want wife, yes. What work do you do? You just put my name. It's not a school. We are not compiling a register. Yes, somebody needs to see your details and be interested in those details. If you don't give them out, if we set up the tent or an office for it in Jalsa, it becomes useless. Because, okay, you have written Gafur, so what? And you have seen Gafur. He doesn't know where I come from. He doesn't know the work I do. Maybe that lady comes to check for a missionary. That lady is looking for a mason. That lady is looking for a painter. But you don't give these details out. And it makes the work very difficult. Rishta Nata can only help us if we want to help ourselves. So Qaidins, please, should take it very serious. Even people can submit their pictures. Because we are trying to go in an easy way so that somebody can go online, fill these things, and then we can open up at gatherings for people to choose and be able to get their partners. Okay. So let's not relax. The counseling have never ruled out parents. It is people who rather chooses their uncles and aunties and go with them. Some even go with their best friends. Some even decide to go there with their best men, which we don't have in Islam.
But do we have any, like that, do we have it as part of our system?
Yes.
That you are supposed to?
You
so
go
that in case the person comes with any other person, you have the right to either send the person back or...
You see, the counseling people, are not people who even know the people they are counseling. That is one of the problems. For example, the locals that are supposed to do the counseling and knows the people who they are not the people in the committee, per my experience and the visitations I have gone. If I have not sat in anywhere, but I have sat in Accra own and I have sat in Wa own, I have seen. Because some of the questions you ask, even those doing the counseling, they themselves don't know anything about the people. So it becomes like, come, listen to a pep talk and go. Because nobody asks, who is this man to you? They don't do those things. So you see, the problem is with the setup, not with the Majlis. But the Majlis can push that corrections can be made.
Exactly. So I think
Which
maybe
we are currently working with Alhaji Majid, who is the new National Registered Secretary.
Okay.
So we'll go up with it, inshallah.
Jazakallah, now we'll go with Abdul Wahab Adusai Sahib. Marriage is 50% of your faith. So why is it that people get married and they are still miserable in life, as he rightly quoted? Who asked that question? Okay, Jazakallah.
All right, Jazakumullah. Yes, the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam has said that marriage is indeed 50% of your faith. He says when you get married or when you marry, you have fulfilled 50% of your faith. That doesn't mean that if you marry anyhow, then you have fulfilled 50% of your faith. Otherwise, he wouldn't have advised us to make a choice based on the piety of a person. So we have duties from even before we get married. We have duties. When we are getting married, we have duties. As I think some of us have already said, there is this prayer, Rabbana hablana min azwajina wa dhurriyatina qurrata a'yunin waj'alna lil muttaqina imama. Hazrat Khalifatul Masih, in one of his sermons, explained that waj'alna lil muttaqina imama, and make us imams from among the righteous. He says that it has never happened that the imam of a group is not part of that group. It has never happened that if we are going to play football and there's a team and we want to select the captain, we go to the fans and select one of the fans as the captain of the football team. It is from among the team that we will choose the captain. So if we have to be imams of the righteous, it means we ourselves have to be righteous. So even as we are yet to marry, we have to lead righteous lives and conscientize ourselves and get rid of certain notions. Notions like the man being the head of the house, he is the boss or the king. If we understand the meaning or the responsibility that you being the head of the house means, Allah, the Promised Messiah alayhi salam, has explained in Keshtinu that even the kinship of Allah has prerequisites. If you read Surah Al-Fatiha, he says that the kinship of Allah is based on, first, his ability to nourish his subjects, which is represented by the attribute Rab. As a man of the house, you stand in the position in relation to your wife. The similitude of your relation to your wife is just like that of Allah and human beings. You standing in the position of Allah and the wife standing in the position of the human being. Now, before we can accept that you are the leader of the house, you have to have the ability to nourish your household. The Promised Messiah continues to say that a king or a leader must have the ability to provide for the sustenance for his subjects, not based on what they have already done, but out of his own kingly mercy. That should also be one of the duties of the husband. He has to have the ability to be able to help his subjects to achieve what they cannot achieve based on their own abilities. The man should be able to do that. And Allah maintains social conformity by his attribute Malik Yawmiddin. The man must be able to exert his moral authority in the house. Now, you can't marry anyhow. Allah says that he doesn't burden a soul beyond its capacity. But Allah has also stated that whatever bad you bring onto yourself, it is from your own hands. So if by Hazrat Khalifatul Masih's instruction, he says that don't marry from outside the Jamaat, and you decide to go and marry someone who is not an Ahmadi, you cannot say that you have fulfilled part of your 50% of your faith. So why are you suffering in your marriage? If you marry and you are not performing your duties, there will be repercussions.
Sure.
So we cannot marry anyhow. We should start, even before we get married, we should start by doing the little that we can. When we are getting married, let's select the right people.
Sure.
And then when we have married, we should do our best to follow the teachings of the Holy Quran, the practice of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then Allah will see us through.
Jazakumullah. Now, Mawsab, the last question, we would want to take the answer briefly on a disobedient wife, that the Quran says, finally you can beat them. So he wants to know as to the extent you have to beat the wives.
Okay, Jazakallah. First of all, you see, as the man of the house, I think you would have to set your priorities straight and know what you want. Do you really want to keep the peace of your home? I ask this because a lot of men are too egoistic. So sometimes there are some small things they could leave, but they won't leave it just because they are men of the house. They would want to lord over, everyone around. And, oh, I'm the man of the house, I'm the man of the house. If it would not hurt your religion, or if it doesn't have some real implications, leave it to go. Sometimes leave some of the things. Because, look, you can't keep keeping all these things. It will spoil your marriage. Is that what you want? Look, women can keep records than us. Women can keep records than us. So if you don't develop the habit of leaving some things to go, and being too, I am the man, at the end of the day, you would be spoiling your own marriage by you trying to prove you are the man. Some things, leave it to go. That's number one. Number two, you see, people quote this verse. It's actually from Surah An-Nisa, where they are talking about you beating your wife, and some people explain it to mean that the biswak, the chewing stick, beat her with the chewing stick. Some would say that beat her, but don't let it be seen. Some would say do this, do that. But the best example of the Holy Quran is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So from his life, we should look through. If he beat his wife with a miswak, or he beat the wife but people did not see, or whatever it is. If that is not the way, let me give you an example. Allow me to say this in Twi. Say, okay. So, person obo no a enye hwe wo de dikan kasa kire no. O kasa kire no na wantia, wo de da mpa so ahwe ho, da mpa wo fro so, na fe ono so na wo fro so, se no so koso na wantie na se obebura de ebo no. How does this sound to you? Is it an instruction to tell you to beat the wife? Let me repeat it and try to see if I can paraphrase it in English. O person obo yire wo ho. Okay. Ansa na obebo no no. Wo de one nya kasa kire na ansa. Wone ne nkasa nkoduru ba bia fe de wonti bi ba fe mpo de empower da so okra no men koda so bi da ba bi foforo afe we anu wie na obebo na ode ebo no. When you take it from this side, what it means is you want to beat your wife. There are some steps. If you want to beat your wife, do those things first. First, advise her, talk to her, ask people that she respects to even talk to her. If that doesn't work, no problem. Separate yourself from her bed for some time. If your anger doesn't subside and you still want to beat her, no problem, go ahead and beat her. Is that an instruction for you to beat her? That is actually a process telling you that you would not even get to the beating. Because if you do those things earlier, if you do them religiously, you will not get to the point of beating. This is just a social advice. No matter what you think about it, never beat your wife. This, never ever beat your wife. The Prophet ﷺ said that the man who even quarrels a woman is a coward. Are you a coward? Why are you quarreling with the woman every day here and there? Sorry? Yes, never strike the handmaiden of Allah. You see, so don't do that. The other thing I would want to mention is, our brother mentioned marriage. Some people go into marriage and they are failing, but marriage is supposed to do faith. Look, it is no wonder. There's a verse. Look, let's all have a special attachment with the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran explains some of these things in some terms that when you read and you understand, you find the beauty in it. There's a verse in Surah Al-Baqarah where God Almighty says that He is going to give you people an example. And that example, He says that فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا فَيَعْلَمُونَ أَنَّهُ الْحَقُّ بِرَبِّهِمْ. From this example that I, the Lord, am going to give, those people who believe would see it that it is from their Lord. وَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا فَيَقُولُونَ مَاذَا أَرَادَ اللَّهُ بِهَذَا مَثَلًا. But the people who disbelieve would say, what is God even saying? What does He mean by this? The same example. He's saying that يُضِلُّ بِهِ كَثِيرًا. A lot of people would be led astray from this example. وَيَهْدِي بِهِ كَثِيرًا. And a lot more would also be guided by this same example. So that same marriage thing could be the source of your downfall, but that same marriage thing could be the source of your upliftment. The last part of the verse, God says that وَمَا يُضِلُّ بِهِ إِلَّا الْفَاسِقِينَ. Says no one would be led astray except the people who are wrongdoers. So if you're going into marriage and you want to reap the 50% of faith, the betterness from it, then you should yourself have some standards. Because look, as I say, if I decide to plant a tree on a barren land, it won't work. I need the tree, the seed, the good seed, yes, but I also need the good land. So if you bring the woman into your home and you are bad, you will turn her bad. So you yourself should be good enough to be able to have a good woman. If you're not deserving of it, you will spoil the good woman. We've seen good men spoiling good, we've seen bad men spoiling good women plenty. So you yourself should be good and should be the exemplar. I think the last thing, wait a minute, Mr. Okitwebi, is, see, let's get closer to our missionaries to learn a lot of things because it helps. When our brother asked about the Ijtema'a, about you setting up a business for your wife and everything, it brought to my mind the work of hak meher. What we pay to the women. Why do you think we pay it? You are setting her up. By that money, people have been given 500 cities, 1,000 cities. You are setting the woman up. And that is why the second Khalifa gave a standard. So when some of these things are clear to you, that you would tell the woman that you're coming into my home, I'm not just going to leave you like that. At least if I am dead today, you should have something to save you, for some time. If you have this in mind, and you set her up for a business, as we were saying, and you have an agreement, first, it's very important, the sort of business you're setting, if it's for you or for her, that's clear. But still, beyond everything, you are supposed to provide the woman some sort of comfort, some sort of thing that if in case you are not there, one of the easiest ways you can do that now is to educate your wife. I will not go so much into that, otherwise it will take time. So let's just take these ones, and I think it would help.
Jazakumullah Jaza. My panelists are on fire. They would want to continue for the rest of the day, but this is where time will allow us. I'm very, very sorry. We will not be able to take questions anymore. So I would say Jazakumullah to our dear panelists for your time, for the wisdom you've shared from the books of Allah the Almighty and the Holy Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu sayings and the sayings of the Promised Messiah alayhi salam and the Khulafa. We are most grateful to you as well our cherished audience for making time for this program. Inshallah, we will have a program like this tomorrow as well, before Juma, inshallah. So you come in your numbers. It will not be on marriage. There will be other topics that we are going to discuss. So jazakumullah to each and every one of you. And I would say a very big jazakumullah to our Sarasa for giving us the extra time to complete the questions that we had. So I would say assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi, then hand it over to Sarasa and the team. Jazakumullah.